Welcome ladies and gentlemen, my name is Marsa and this is the video I've created for the second peer assessment assignment in online games, literature, new media and narrative by Jay Clayton, featuring Weathertop, the hill from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings series. In this video I'm going to show you Weathertop in Lord of the Rings online game by Turbine and compare it to Weathertops in the original book and the movie directed by Peter Jackson. In particular, I would like to talk about my experiences with the scene in all three medias. I hope you will enjoy my work. My journey to Weathertop starts in Blue, near the Southern Gate. There is always a possibility to get there on foot, but those who have visited it already can take a horse to the Forsaken Inn, which is close to the hillfoot. Since this is my third journey to Weathertop, I take a horse together with my friends from our kinship Coursera. We will approach Weathertop from the south, where the old road runs. This particular road was avoided intentionally by Strider and his hobbit companions, both in the movie and in the book, but so far it looks like the easiest way to get there. Tolkien tells us that it took 5 days of traveling from Bree for his heroes to see the hill, and the film also shows the scenes where they pass woods and marshes. Although it isn't stated explicitly, I had a feeling that it was a long journey for them. In-game it takes a few minutes, which isn't even a day in terms of LOTRO time. Now you can see the Forsaken Inn, where we meet another of our companions before climbing the hill. Since I don't remember the way to the top exactly, I need someone to lead me, and 2 guides are always better than 1. The story tells us that Weathertop is the highest of the hills around. Judging from the surroundings in-game, it is indeed so, but we have nothing to compare it with in the film. In the book, Weathertop is much greener comparing to the movie and the game, where the grass is more yellowish. Our way to the top isn't as tiresome as the one created by Tolkien, but it has its obstacles like false turns. However, there is a possibility that it is not the only way there. As we pass the last steep part on our way, we finally reach the top. Strider tells his companions that now the ruined watchtower Amon Sul was once tall and fair. The ruins in the film don't exactly give such feeling. The crown of ruins is present in all 3 medias, but its size changes a lot. In the film it looks indeed like a crown, dark and crooked, just like described by the original author. In the game version, the circle between the ruins is much broader. There is also a pile of stones mentioned in the book, and the white stone with engraving which possibly belonged to Gandalf. The area around them is burnt like described by Tolkien, and there are no living things there. In the film, instead of the burnt ground, there are the remains of floor of the keep, and as much as I could see, it isn't burnt at all. There isn't any piles of stones there. Tolkien doesn't mention anything particular about the ruins themselves, except the feeling of crumbling. The ruins in the film are filled with engravings and statues. They are cold, grey, and very dark at night. The same ruins in the game give a very different feeling, at least to me. They are made of light brown stones, which makes them almost cheerful during daylight. Even during the night, or with rain falling down, this place still doesn't give such grim feeling as described in the book and shown in the film. In the book, Mary calls it very cheerless and uninviting. In the film, it is more like an ancient ruin, mysterious but more interesting than scary. In the game, it is actually a nice place to spend time. It might look simpler than in the film, but I think this is the right way to do it, since I doubt that someone would waste that much time and efforts to decorate a watchtower. After all, it's supposed to be a purely military building, not even a castle or a palace for some lord to live in. The whole construction looks very magnificent in the game, since the first ruined pieces are already at the foot of the hill, and if we assume that once they were all connected to the top part, it turns Amon Sul into a really remarkable building, more a fortress than a watchtower. Here we can see some ruined arcs which lead upwards, and when I imagine the whole construction as one, it makes me think of a fortress rising in levels over the hill. I am not sure that Tolkien meant it that grand, but it gives a feeling of significance. If the weather is good enough, one can see the surroundings. Mostly those are hills and highlands, and mountains are hardly seen, but generally the view corresponds to the book. Those sceneries weren't shown in the movie, so I can't say anything about them there. In the book, Strider mentions birds and other creatures that might be spying on the travelers. They aren't shown in the film, but the birds flying around Weathertop are a clear reference to those in the book. While we were exploring Weathertop, we noticed the last steep part on the way up, which wasn't quite steep for our characters, but was described as the hardest part in the book. It wasn't shown in the film, but Weathertop there generally looks quite steep and hard to climb. Finally, we also found the dell where Strider and the hobbits spent their night. In the film, it was only a rocky area with some parts of the ruins right under the top. In the book, it was supposed to be a rather nice grassy place with a spring of water. In the game, it looks slightly greener than the rest of the hill. We also found the spring, which wasn't in the movie. Hidden piles of wood. Generally, I find Weathertop in the game one of the most welcoming locations. Maybe because I didn't have the ring with me and I wasn't haunted by some creepy dark riders without faces. Instead, I had my kinship and course mates dancing and playing with me, which was a very nice experience on its own. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my video.